Welcome to In the Green Room. For the Heritage Foundation, I'm Lachlan Marquet, and today we are joined by Senator Jon Kyl, a Republican from Arizona. Senator Kyl was first elected in 1994 and now serves as the Republican whip in the Senate. Senator, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Lachlan.
Now, you're here today to discuss national defense, and as you well know, if Congress fails to act, automatic sequestration cuts will slash $500 billion from the defense budget. What would be the consequences of those cuts?
And first of all, that's on top of $487 billion already slated to be cut from defense over the next 10 years. As Leon Panetta, the defense secretary, says, it would be catastrophic. Lindsey Graham asked in a hearing, he said, wouldn't that be like shooting ourselves in the foot? And he said, no, Senator, it would be like shooting ourselves in the head. That's one of the things I'm talking about today. They've got to be stopped. You can save the money in other ways. We're not talking about not saving the money. We're talking about doing it in an intelligent way by setting priorities, reducing spending elsewhere so that you don't have to have the across-the-board cuts, half of which apply to defense and half apply to other non-defense discretionary spending. There are ways to do it. We've begun the effort. It should be done before the fall, before the so-called lame duck session, so that it doesn't get caught up with all of the other things that will have to be done then.
Now, of late, there seems to have been a rise in isolationist attitudes in the United States, especially during the financial crisis. Why do you think it's important for the United States to stay engaged in global affairs?
Well, you must have read my speech. That's exactly what I'll be talking about today. And the answer, of course, is the world is too small for us to think that we can just hide behind the Maginot Line of our east and west coast. We have interests all over the world, and as events have demonstrated time and time again, it is more efficient and certainly saves blood and treasure if you can anticipate and act ahead of a crisis to forestall it, or at least prevent the kind of damage that a World War II or World War I, for example, caused, than it is to wait, hope for the best, and then end up having to go into a situation where it's much more costly and you're having to fight from behind at first to try to catch up and then prevail. America simply cannot retreat behind Fortress America. We have too many interests around the globe, and for those conservatives in particular who are tired of the fact that we're out there expending blood and treasure and we're not very much appreciated for what we do, I just have to say we're not going to be appreciated necessarily, but you have to do what's right for the American people.
And finally, you've warned recently of what you call taxmageddon, a massive slate of tax hikes on the horizon. So describe what taxpayers have in store for them.
Just one of the things we have in store is the biggest tax increase in the history of the world on January 1st of the year, if we do not act. And that's when all of the IRS code for individual taxpayers for the last decade expire on marginal rates, capital gains, dividends, the estate tax, and all of those things go back up to where they were before President Bush became president. That's $4.5 trillion that would be taken out of the private sector and given to the government. That, to me, would be a death blow to any potential economic recovery. And it would be a very foolish thing if Congress does not act to prevent it. That's the taxmageddon. There are other things. The tax provisions of Obamacare are cutting in at the same time, imposing additional tax burdens. And it's not just that the American economy can't stand it. The American family is already overburdened, and I find it very hard to believe that small businesses in particular will be able to survive, certainly not to create the kind of jobs that we're hoping for as we're trying to get out of this recession. So Congress needs to act before the end of the year to prevent these tax increases from going into effect.
Senator, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
For the Heritage Foundation, I'm Lachlan Marquet.